and welcome to the Tom Baker Show. It is great to be back with you. I am Tom Baker, joined as always by my SWN Media colleague and the editor of SteeringWheelNation.com and multi-award winning journalist, Jacob Seelman. And this show is produced by SWN Media, the home of America's racers. We start a really full show. We have got some news and some updates on things from short tracks and NASCAR and all kinds of good stuff. But we start where we always do in the beginning. We give out the SWM Power Performance Awards. So, Jacob, the wheel is yours.
Well, yet again, very diverse set this week. I think again, I feel like every time we pull this up, they're always deserving nominees. It just, depending on the week, is very hard to pick just one out of the bunch. But for this week's Power Performance nominees, of course, I don't think you could go without starting with Corey Heim winning Sunday's Brickyard 400. To do it as a part-timer, to do something by winning multiple times in his first 15 starts at the Cup level that hasn't been done since A.J. Foyt in 1965, that speaks for itself as something that's A, not easy to do, and B, really, really, really impressive. So I think Corey, you can't not put Corey in the pool here. Similar vein, but for the first time in this Power Performance Award history, we're actually putting up a pair of drivers as a singular unit because they're related. Carson and Caden Kvapil get the nod as nominees as a tandem because they won in tandem. Carson, of course, winning the O'Reilly Series race at IMS on Saturday afternoon. His brother, Caden, not to be outdone, goes out at the Hampton Heat 200 at Langley Speedway in a late model stock car, one of the most prestigious late model stock car events in this part of the country. He just goes out and wins that too, because Big Brother can't be the only one celebrating in victory lane on this day. So Travis, their dad, just I have to imagine was beside himself by the end of the night in all facets. So the brothers Kvapil as a unit get a nomination here. You've got now four-time Prairie Dirt Classic late model winner Brandon Shepard, who passed Scott Bloomquist to become the all-time leader in National Dirt Late Model Touring Series wins with that Prairie Dirt Classic victory. He had been tied with Bloomquist in the combined mark between the World of Outlaws and the Lucas Oil Late Model Series. Brandon now stands alone at the top of that list. And from the super modified set, you've got Tyler Schulich, who won Saturday at Jennerstown Speedway in Pennsylvania with ISMA, and has now not only extended his point lead by winning, he's won 3 out of the last 4 on tour with ISMA MSS, and did so at Jennerstown in pretty dominating fashion. So I know where your heart is automatically, Tom, whenever I bring up super modifieds, but where does your brain go with this award outside of just looking at what Tyler Schulich has done because he's in a super modified?
Well, I mean, I never just evaluate it based on whether somebody is in a super modified or not. And certainly Tyler has just been tearing up the ISMA MSS super modified series this year. But this one for me actually was very easy. And for me, this was all over on Saturday night after the Hampton Heat. What the Kvapil brothers accomplished on Saturday in very different yet very similar respects, as far as I'm concerned, is just amazing. And we may never see this again, honestly. Yeah. I mean, first of all, Carson, of all places, to get your very first NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series victory, Indianapolis, right? I mean, there's just no better place to get your first win than that. And the way that he did it, holding off Justin Allgaier, who is the dominant car in that series this year by
Yep,
far,
absolutely.
and leading a junior motorsport sweep. And then for Caden to go out, and you know that he felt that pressure going into the Hampton Heat, one of the hardest late model races to win. He goes out and gets it done to share the spotlight with Carson. So for me, this one was easy. As much as the other three all deserve it, and what Corey Heim did the other day is fantastic. I got to give this one to the Kvapil brothers.
This is a little scary. It's scary enough when you and I agree once on a show, but to agree twice in back-to-back weeks is starting to get borderline terrifying here.
Don't let it happen again.
But you and I are in agreement, as is the fan poll, by the
Oh,
way.
wow.
Tyler Schulich edged ahead by a little bit in the Facebook version of the poll, but the version on X was far more decisive, 66% for the Kvapil brothers.
Okay.
Um, in the poll there. So I would say that the die is cast, but real quick, I will just say, yeah, for Caden to step up and do what he did Saturday night after Carson held off the best car in the series. He's got the best equipment in the series because we know those junior motorsports cars are all created virtually equal. Um, but still to hold out the best driver in the series from getting another win at Indy, and then for Caden, who did not have the best car at the Hampton Heat, to still, yes, he had a little bit of good fortune because Butterbean Queen got eliminated in a crash, but you know what? Sometimes those things happen, and you play the cards you're dealt, and the cards that Caden was
Yep.
dealt put him in victory lane. And I think for me too, not just that Caden won in a junior motorsports late model, but that he's done all this year with his dad Travis crew chiefing that car the entire year, to me makes it all the more impressive when you consider how many other really talented wrenches there are in the late model stock ranks right now for basically a family bunch with the
Yep.
backing of Junior Motorsports to go out and get it done. I mean, that spoke it all to me. And look, I'm not going to deny the numbers that Corey Heim, the stats that he put up in the categories that he inserted himself into on Sunday, and say that's not impressive. It absolutely is. But no, Kvapil brothers get this one from me as well, all the way.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think that Brandon Shepard's four. I mean, when you win four of those races, that's a huge accomplishment. That's a big race, and for like I said, for Corey to do what he did the other day, totally unexpected, and just shows you how fantastic of a racer he is. So even the move he made on the boss, basically to
Yeah.
to ensure that it was him that ended up in victory
Yes.
lane. He didn't race Denny any differently than he would race anyone else, and I love seeing that, and I think Denny does too. And so, yeah. So congratulations to the Kvapil brothers. We'll have to try to get Caden at least, if not Carson as well, on an upcoming show here, because both of them deserve the opportunity
For
to
sure.
talk about what
Yes.
this weekend meant.
Absolutely right. And with that, we're going to do a complete 180 pivot here because we go from talking about all the good, amazing things that happened for multiple drivers over this past weekend to a story that does not necessarily have all the good and fuzzies to it right now, because we alluded to this at the end of our most recent show, Tom, but right now there is so much to unpack in the saga of the potential downfall slash reinvention slash I don't even know what to call it right now that's
Yeah.
going on with the IHRA. But I know you have been following this pretty much since it, blew up into a big thing. What do we know? And I know a lot of this circles around an article from Drag Illustrated that came out a couple of days ago that
Yes.
really painted a very stark picture of what this situation has turned into.
Yeah, and that's exactly who I want to give credit to for some of this news. Some of it I've gotten from other sources, but Wes Buck and Drag Illustrated put out, frankly, a very dark article about this whole situation. And so let's try to catch everybody up. As I think most people know by now, the IHRA shut down virtually every national series that it was involved in within the last couple of weeks. The stock car series, the national drag racing series that they had, the powerboat series, all of the major series that they were operating just shut down, dead stop, pull the emergency brake. And it just, at first, you kind of thought, well, maybe there's just an issue. It's a pause. It'll resume. Nope. And a phone call came to Wes Buck from the owner of the IHRA, Daryl Cuttle, about buying the series and lot, stock, and barrel for $500 million with a B dollars. So Wes dialed up his friend, Richard Freeman from Elite Motorsports, who most know as the NHRA team owner. Richard Freeman, along with Wes and Richard's brother, and I think there was one other gentleman perhaps, that went to the head office, the headquarters of the IHRA, and looked at all of the equipment, the vehicles, everything that was supposed to be included, did evaluation, and subsequently then they made, or Richard Freeman made, Daryl Cuttle an offer to buy the series, which Cuttle demurred at first, and then accepted, and then unaccepted. And then Richard Freeman was taken a bit aback by that. And apparently the offer was made again after, and when Cuttle once again wasn't sure, Richard Freeman just basically told him, "I'm out." At which time, Cuttle started to court him, and, the windup is that Cuttle then, I guess, according to what Daryl Cuttle said, sold the series to someone else. But we don't know who. There's been no announcement, but he told Richard Freeman that the series was sold. And so we don't know where we are at this point, but here is the most damning piece of that conversation. According to Richard Freeman, he specifically asked Daryl Cuttle, what about all of the debt, all of the money that's owed to vendors, owed to racers, owed to tracks, owed to just a wide variety of people, some of the series that they took over, said to be well into the millions, the latest figure I heard. Well, Daryl Cuttle made it very clear, according to Freeman, made it very clear he has no intentions of making anyone whole. And that is the ugliest part of this whole situation, if that's true, because these are people who took a huge chance on Daryl. There were a number of executives, management staff, people that dropped everything else they were doing to jump in and help make this work. And I mean, it runs the gamut from the stock car series to powerboats to snowmobiles to tractor pulling, and of course all the straight line stuff. And now, according to what Richard Freeman said, Cuttle told him he has no intention of making anything good. And so where we're left here is we don't know what's going on with the IHRA at the moment. Daryl says it's sold. We haven't heard any more than that. There are obviously a large number of facilities that were, I think most of them, it appears anyway, that they were leased. So I would assume, again, just off the top of my head, I would presume that they would just go back to those who they were leased from. And, you know, there's some pretty historic facilities in there. You know, you've got Rockingham Speedway on the stock car side. You've got a number, Heartland Park and a number of Maple Grove, a number of big drag racing facilities. I mean, this, in my opinion, Jacob, is one of the biggest, most impactful stories in the motorsports world, maybe ever, because of the magnitude of the impact of this across the entire spectrum of motorsports, and the fact that it just brought all of that to a screeching halt with absolutely no idea of what's next. I do know that there are some folks who have already made some inquiries about trying to bring back we'll say a copy of or a form of the stock car series with the same rule book and all of that. I don't think you're going to see anywhere near the purses. The streaming views for the first few races of that series that I was made aware of were absolutely phenomenal. I mean, you know, we're talking ARCA size audiences. So whatever they were doing on that end, it was working really well. And there was, I've been told, there was a very large amount of sponsorship that was in the process of being put together for 2027. And it looked pretty favorable for at least most of it to happen until, you know, everything fell apart. Now, who knows? So this is just a monster story, Jacob, and it's a tragedy, in my opinion, because although, you know, Daryl did prove, I think, that if you do short track racing well, if you're passionate about it, if you get the right people, you can make it something glorious. But the end result obviously is it's all stopped. And there's a whole lot of people right now that aren't making any money and are owed thousands or more dollars and may never see that. So we'll keep following it. But my gosh, this story is just, it's pretty sad, honestly. And we could spend the next 20 minutes talking about the tentacles of this, but yeah, we'll stay on top of it and keep everybody updated. But, you know, I really feel bad for everybody that put their hard work and blood, sweat, and tears in for Daryl and is probably, at least as of right now, it doesn't sound like he's really intending to, you know, make good on anything that they did for him. And you just hate that.
Do you feel like any piece of this is salvageable, even in a different form? You and I talked before this show that the stock car series in particular at least brought up some concepts that not only proved to work, but you would think if somebody in the short track industry latches onto them would be extremely viable.
Well, yeah, again, I think, but you know, the key here is you got to have money. You know, is that series going to have the mega purses that they were racing for at the beginning of this year? Likely not, but I don't think you need that level. If you could get somewhere in the same level as a lot of the other regional touring series that are going on right now, I think you'd be doing amazingly well. And I think with the streaming numbers that they started with, if you could put all that back together under different ownership, you know, and with you've got to have stability. So you got to go get some owners and some partners in this that are known names that people trust, that they know that they're going to get paid, and they know that it's going to run well. But I do think some of this is salvageable. And again, keep in mind, this is only the end of July. We've got time yet. This is very early on in this story's journey, or the arc of this. So, there's plenty of time for things to start sorting themselves out. And for us to sort of see what can be salvaged and what, who's interested in doing what. But again, the only thing I know about right now is, at least on the stock car side of things, it appears as though there's been some discussion about, with some folks who, may be the right people, or at least some of the right people, as to what the interest might be. And, I'm just praying for the best for everybody involved here, because
Sure. Absolutely.
the trail of damage is very deep and wide across the blue collar racing world, if you will.
With that, we're going to throw the break ourselves for a moment, take a commercial here, and when we come back, we will delve into some more recent topics. Stay with us. The Tom Baker Show continues after this.
For race fans across the United States, GetInTheStands.com is the place to find racetracks where you live and where you're traveling. Just go to GetInTheStands.com and enter your location. You'll see the tracks within 100 miles of that point, either as a list or on a map. GetInTheStands.com is 100% free to use and mobile friendly. So whether you're on a computer, a tablet, or on your phone, there's no need to download an app. To find racetracks across the United States, open your web browser and head to GetInTheStands.com. GetInTheStands.com, your racetrack directory.
Attention track and series owners. Elevate your fan experience with the TrackTune app. TrackTune works with your PA system. Fans and teams at the track can hear the announcers through their phones, ensuring everyone hears race calls, sponsor plugs, and more during race nights. It's simple to set up, affordable, and free for fans to download and enjoy. Visit tracktune.live for all the details and join tracks nationwide on the app today.
Welcome back to the Tom Baker Show. We move into the middle stint here, and we talked about the two brothers in our Power Performance Award. They got it. So now I'll ask the bigger picture question. Tom, after Carson wins at IMS and Caden wins the Hampton Heat, is this moment, this pivot point, when the rest of the world who maybe hadn't followed the Kvapil brothers as deeply and as long as you and I have, going back to the very beginning of their careers in outlaw karts, is this when the rest of the world realizes what those of us who have known them that long already knew, that both of those boys are really, really good and need to be at premier levels of what they're racing?
Sure. I mean, I think, I feel fortunate, honestly. I've known those two young men since they were little, and I know you have as well.
Yep.
And watching them grow up both on the asphalt and the dirt in various divisions of the sort of development ladder. But mostly, I think, at Millbridge, where Caden is still winning races in a car that Carson basically owns and crew chiefs. I think watching them mature into drivers on the pavement in late models, and of course Carson now in the O'Reilly series, is just incredible. Honestly, they're both very humble. They're both good mechanics. They know how to work on their cars, which I think is a huge advantage. They're not afraid to work on their cars, and they enjoy it. And I think, if you watch the race that Carson won, after it was over, Dale Jr. was literally in tears.
Yep.
And I've never seen that from Junior before. You could tell that, he's got a soft spot for Carson as far as, the proverbial mentee, so to speak. And, almost like a son, he said. And that young man has earned a win for a while. He's had like 5 runner-ups and just couldn't get there. He finally did. And, I think Caden is going to follow in his footsteps. They're both very similar drivers. Slightly different personalities, but not that much different, really. And, I think people just enjoy them because they're very nice kids. They're very personable. They're very humble, down to earth, approachable. And, both of them can drive the wheels off a car. So I think the future's bright for both of them. And although I don't know that Carson's going to have a shot at Cup in 27, nor do I necessarily think maybe that he couldn't use another year in O'Reilly. I think that would be good for him. But in a Cup world where there's not that many open seats, if there is a decent opportunity, you kind of got to go for it, because otherwise it could be 5, 6, 7 years before you get another shot.
For sure. No, I agree with that. We were having that discussion a few weeks ago when the Jesse Love to the Wood Brothers news broke, and kind of the discourse surrounding that situation as well. I'm going to pivot to the good from Sunday. We talked about the good from Saturday. I'm going to pivot to the good from Sunday before we have the argument here. How big was Corey Haim's moment in the sun at IMS Sunday when you consider the categories and the drivers that he put himself alongside, the way he and Booty Barker managed that race to put him in position, and then the last couple laps just to flat put the car everywhere he needed to keep a charging Christopher Bell and Joey Logano behind him. What does this say about Corey Haim that he's been so patient for this opportunity?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think we give Corey too much credit in that. I don't think he had a lot of choice, to be honest. I mean, sure, he probably could have taken some Cup ride at some point, but the reality is that I think Toyota, I think he pretty much knew for a couple of years where he was going to end up. I think that had been kind of promised to him. He's been part-time here and there. I think his path was set. It was just a matter of making all the pieces fit and the timing being right. So, I think we give him too much credit there, but this kid is a superstar. He's got a very level head on the racetrack. He generally doesn't put the car in places it shouldn't be. Every once in a while in a truck, he gets a little over exuberant these days, but I think it's because he's coming back to the truck series now as a Cup racer. And so his confidence level is through the roof. And he knows that he can walk the dog in that series. And so, I think I expect Corey Haim to finish somewhere in the top 16 in the points in 2027. And I expect him to make the chase. I expect him to get wins, in the 35 car. I think he's more than ready. And I do think that, the number of races he's run in the various series, have put him there, although, I don't think he's done very much O'Reilly racing, but I think he's proof you don't really have to do all that much if you do enough truck racing and go part-time in the Cup. I think that works. And so, really excited for Corey. I mean, the kid is he's one of the best incoming rookies I've seen in the Cup series in a long, long time.
I was talking to somebody in the wake, the first few minutes after the win on Sunday, that compared him, to being the same kind of force that Davey Allison was when Davey came into Cup in the late 80s. And I think that's fitting that comparison was made, considering that Corey became the first part-timer to win multiple races before their first full-time season since Davey Allison did it in 1987. Of course, the Rookie of the Year rules were a little different then, and Davey actually won Rookie of the Year in 87. Corey, of course, will be eligible next year in 2027 to go after that honor. The other side of the coin, though, because I'll pull a good Sealman stat of the week for Corey Heim. Not only did he lead the most laps to win the Brickyard 400 and become the first part-timer to ever win that race, he also puts himself in the category as the second youngest Brickyard 400 winner ever, behind only Jeff Gordon in the inaugural running. Yep. But this track has been the source of much consternation over the course of its tenure in NASCAR and really the last 24 hours. I'll just cut to it. If you're NASCAR czar, are you really seriously considering ditching IMS, or is there greater importance to this track being on the schedule than solely getting a good race out of it every single time we go there?
Okay, so Kyle Petty said this past week, just because it's Indy doesn't make it a crown jewel. I agree.
Kyle, you're right. No,
I absolutely agree.
I don't agree with that, but you continue first.
I absolutely agree. Now, in the driver's minds, you want to win because it's Indy. But is it a crown jewel for NASCAR? No, absolutely not. Does it race well? No, it's awful. Last year, 2025 at Indy, here's the Tom Baker stat of the week. Do you know how many passes after one lap beyond the restart in the entirety of the Brickyard 425 there were? 8. This year,
Hocevar made 4 of them, by the way.
This year there might have been 10. The racing in the Cup Series on the oval at Indy is absolutely awful. Now, do I think it's the track's fault? Well, yes, because it wasn't built for big, heavy stock cars that don't turn. It wasn't built for that. Do I think it's the Cup car's fault? 100%. This car literally sucks. And by that I mean all of the aero is on the bottom. Okay, it's all about that underbelly of the car, and everything's so low. Okay, that you're driving these things off the right front. You can't drive these half out of shape like you used to. You can't overslip the tires like you used to, and that's why the late Kyle Busch had never figured the thing out. A lot of these older drivers just couldn't get used to the difference in style. And even Jimmy Johnson was talking about how radically different it is from anything else that these guys race up to that point. So you're getting into something in the Cup car that just doesn't go anywhere. As far as you can't hustle this car like a lot of the guys used to. So, I honestly, would I keep the race at Indy at least one more year? Yes. But man, they have got to fix this car. It's just awful.
We're going to take our final break on that note, wave the white flag when we come back, and have a couple more voices for you. Stay with us.
For race fans across the United States, GetInTheStands.com is the place to find racetracks where you live and where you're traveling. Just go to GetInTheStands.com and enter your location. You'll see the tracks within 100 miles of that point, either as a list or on a map. GetInTheStands.com is 100% free to use and mobile friendly. So whether you're on a computer, a tablet, or on your phone, there's no need to download an app. To find racetracks across the United States, open your web browser and head to GetInTheStands.com. GetInTheStands.com, your racetrack directory.
Attention track and series owners. Elevate your fan experience with the TrackTune app. TrackTune works with your PA system. Fans and teams at the track can hear the announcers through their phones, ensuring everyone hears race calls, sponsor plugs, and more during race nights. It's simple to set up, affordable, and free for fans to download and enjoy. Visit tracktune.live for all the details and join tracks nationwide on the app today.
We're back on the Tom Baker Show. It's the White Flag segment. And Tom, you got the chance to catch up with a really fun young open wheel driver that we're going to hear from here in just a second out of the USAC West Coast region of the country. And I have really enjoyed doing my research and learning about young Drake Carty in preparation for this show.
Yeah, Drake is 17, and he is he's leading the Western States midgets points, I believe, and just had another podium a couple days before the show was taped. I caught up with him actually almost 2 weeks ago now. It's been that we had the chance to talk, and was very impressed. The full interview will be out on our SWN Facebook here on Wednesday of this week, and then it'll be on our YouTube on demand at the SWN Media on Facebook. But you're going to get a sneak preview here of our conversation with a young man who I believe is going places in this sport. Here's Drake Carty.
So it's funny. One of the first times I was in the midget, I got out and I was like, wow, that felt just like iRacing. And like, I told my dad that, and he was like, really? I was like, yeah. So wow. I think iRacing does a big thing. It teaches you racing awareness, racecraft, which is huge because like, obviously, you're not actually driving, but you're getting the visuals, you're getting the movement with the wheel. So you have to plan in your head. So I think that helps. And then also changing up lines, being able to like throttle control, brake, like it has like every car control, like it feels exactly the same. So I think that helps out a lot. The only difference that it doesn't have though is like the actual character in the track. So like having ruts or bumps on the track, you don't feel that on the simulator. And then you also don't have like a cushion. Like if it goes up to the wall, you don't have anything to lean on up there. It's just all smooth. So I think if iRacing were to add that, you're going to see a lot more kids come from there and be really successful. But I think my year in the lightning sprints really helped me out, bridging the gap between iRacing to real world, because it allowed me to really learn what the difference is and what it actually feels like with the G-forces and the physical aspect of it. But once I realized that, I understood that, I could relay all my information I already had over.
So with the lightning sprint and with regards to that decision to race that particular kind of car, I think most people probably know more about 600 micros than they know about that particular class. So was it just that's what was available in your area, or what went into the decision to choose that as your sort of starter class?
Yeah, Tom, I'm going to be honest. That was the only thing that was open. We had a really good deal with, one of our buddies now, but we didn't know him at the time. He let us drive for him for the whole season. It wasn't our car. We worked on it. Oh, yeah, we worked on it, maintenanced on it, took care of it. And so he made us a really good deal that we just couldn't offer or turn down. So we had to do it, and then we fell in love with it once the first few races happened. And I have done a few micro races. I did, I think, up to 4 last year, but that was until like midway through the season. I ran with Keith Coons back east, and I had a good time back there, but that was my first non-wing experience at the time. And so it was just took a little adjusting to, but yeah, the micros for sure handled differently than anything else I've driven.
I would imagine. And of course, one of their biggest events, or it is their biggest event at Tulsa. That's always a fun one to run, the Tulsa Shootout, if you get a chance, because that'll test every little bit of racecraft and patience and and all of that you got over the course of the week. That's a competitive environment there. So what I'm curious, as of right now, what are your goals? What are you looking toward here now that I'm sure you realize hey, I can win at a competitive level here. What's the goal for Drake?
You know, I'm just a kid that wants to race and go fast. So I would get in anything if I had to, but my goal, you know, is just to keep working up the ranks and either high limit, or if I could go either further than that, would be awesome. So I've gotten in a sprint car this year for the first time. I think I want to race some more sprint cars next.
I want to know about that. What was that like? Tell me about where that was and how'd that go?
It was at Paris Auto Speedway. I don't know if you've ever heard of that track. Okay. It used to have Oval Nationals. Yeah. So it was a non-wing 410 race. And it was, I mean, I was smiling ear to ear as soon as I got out after hot laps for the first time. It was the greatest experience of my life. I watched my dad race there at that track for years growing up there, you know. It was a surreal moment for sure. It was like a bucket list that got checked off. And it was awesome. My first lap, I didn't realize how hard I could drive it in. And then the second lap, I realized maybe I drove it in a little too hard. So, yeah. And so it was really awesome, though. I qualified 8th, and then heat race, I finished like 4th, I think. And then we finished the main 10th. So, you know, top 10. It was a good night. Yeah, and I loved it. You know, I'm hoping I could do it again. Luckily, I'm fortunate now. I'm driving for Tom Dunkel Racing, who's a sprint car team, but they also have a midget program. So I'm running with their midget, you know, and so I got affiliated with their sprint car program, and so now I got to test that out.
That's awesome. So that would be just an obvious next step for you if the opportunity were to present itself. It's on the team, right? I mean, it's part of the organization. So that's an amazing thing that you got to do that. And again, top 10, and especially in non-wing, that's pretty respectable. So great job on that.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Welcome back to the show, and hope you enjoyed that sneak preview with Drake Carty. Again, you can catch the full interview on our Facebook at the SWM Media, and on our YouTube channel as well. That is just at SWN Media. Jacob, again, talented young racer, and among many this year. The sprint cars and the midgets have been so much fun to watch, and you've been kicking butt when it comes to staying on top of all that for us.
Well, I appreciate that. You know, between names like Drake Carty, Jet Yantis, Jet Barnes, Emerson Axum, Ashton Torgerson, the future of short track open wheel dirt racing in this country is very, very, very bright right now. There are so many entertaining names to be able to watch. He's a little bit older than some of the names that I mentioned, but Gio Selzy too. I don't want to let this show go away without giving Gio a shout out for winning $100,000 in the Bob Weichert Memorial at Port Royal Speedway. Right. First high limit racing win in 3 years, and the first win for the Spire Motorsports Sprint Car program.
Won't be the last. Congratulations to Gio, and that will wrap things up for another week here on the Tom Baker Show. For more content daily, actually right now, hustle, go over to the SWN Facebook, Inside Groove Live, short track conversation at the SWN Media on Facebook. And of course, we are the same handle on Instagram and X. I am the SWN Tom on X. Until next time, I'm Tom Baker. Thanks for watching.